Most people walk past these plants at the grocery store or pull them out of their garden without a second thought. I did the same thing for years. Then I spent 2 decades working in clinical nutrition and integrative health, sitting across from patients managing chronic inflammation, anxiety, poor sleep, digestive problems, and I started paying very close attention to what the research actually said about the plants people had growing on their kitchen windowsills. Some of what I found surprised me, not because the plants were exotic or rare, because they were ordinary, the kind of ordinary that makes people underestimate what is actually happening inside the leaves. 10 of those plants, ones you can root right now in a glass of water on your kitchen counter, have documented research behind them that is worth understanding. No garden needed, no special soil, just water, a cutting, and the patience to watch roots form. This is practical. Let's get into it. Peppermint is the pushy plant of the herb garden. Put it in the ground and it takes over everything around it. Put it in a glass of water and it grows beautifully, producing fresh leaves continuously for months. The active compound is menthol. It works by triggering a specific ion channel in cold-sensitive nerve cells called the TRPM8 receptor. When menthol activates that channel, your nerves fire a cooling signal without any actual temperature change. That is a genuine pharmacological mechanism, not a scent preference. For nausea, the clinical evidence is solid. Studies confirm that peppermint inhalation reduces post-operative nausea meaningfully compared to placebo, a finding consistent enough that it has been adopted in clinical nursing protocols. For digestion, menthol relaxes the smooth muscle of the gut wall. Think of a tightly held fist slowly releasing its grip. Gas passes. Cramping eases. Multiple clinical trials and a Cochrane review support its use specifically for irritable bowel symptoms. Enteric-coated peppermint oil capsules are now a recognized option in gastroenterology guidelines. One finding worth noting: peppermint shows antimicrobial activity against Helicobacter pylori, the bacterium involved in most stomach ulcers, in preliminary laboratory studies. That is not a treatment claim. It is worth knowing. Cut a stem about 4 inches just below a leaf node. Strip the lower leaves so nothing rots below the waterline. Place in a clean glass of plain tap water on a bright windowsill, away from direct afternoon sun. Roots appear in 5 to 10 days. For tea, 4 or 5 fresh leaves, water just off the boil. Not a full rolling boil, which drives off the volatile oils. Steeped 4 minutes. That is your cup. Lemon balm smells like someone combined a lemon tree with a cool morning. Rub a single leaf and your whole hand carries it for an hour. That scent is the plant's chemistry doing exactly what it is designed to do. The primary active compounds in lemon balm are rosmarinic acid and a class of volatile terpenes. Rosmarinic acid modulates the same inflammatory signaling cascade that triggers unnecessary immune responses. Think of it as turning down a volume knob on a system that has been running too loud for too long. The most documented use is nervous system support. Multiple clinical studies, including a randomized controlled trial published in Nutrients, show that lemon balm extract reduces anxiety and improves sleep quality in stressed adults. The effect is real but moderate, not sedating the way a pharmaceutical would be. It is closer to removing the sharp edge from a difficult day without dulling the rest of it. The antiviral research is worth noting separately. Rosmarinic acid and related compounds show inhibitory activity against herpes simplex virus in laboratory conditions. Topical lemon balm cream has been studied in clinical trials specifically for cold sore healing time, with favorable results published in Phytomedicine. That is a different application than the tea, but the same plant. Take a cutting with 2 or 3 leaf pairs. Strip the stem below the waterline. Use a clean glass in bright, indirect light. Lemon balm roots more slowly than peppermint. Give it 10 to 14 days. Change the water every 3 days to prevent bacterial buildup. For evening tea, a small handful of fresh leaves steeped 5 minutes in just off the boil water. Studies suggest 2 to 3 cups in the evening support the transition into sleep without the grogginess that some supplements cause the following morning. Rosemary grows wild on rocky Mediterranean hillsides in thin, dry, nutrient-poor soil under harsh summer sun. That resilience is built into its chemistry and into what it delivers when you use it. The 2 most studied compounds are rosmarinic acid, shared with lemon balm, and carnosic acid. Both function as potent antioxidants and anti-inflammatory agents. Carnosic acid has shown neuroprotective effects in cell studies, appearing to reduce the kind of oxidative damage in neural tissue that accumulates with age. Think of it as rust-proofing for the cells that run your thinking. The cognitive effect is measurable even through inhalation. A study published in Therapeutic Advances in Psychopharmacology found statistically significant improvements in speed and accuracy of mental performance in participants exposed to rosemary aroma in a room compared to controls. The mechanism involves 1,8-cineol, a major volatile in rosemary's aroma profile, correlating with higher blood levels of compounds linked to neural signaling. The people who wore rosemary garlands while studying in ancient Greece did not know the biochemistry. They had observation. Rosemary wants a woody-tipped cutting about 6 inches long, with the lower 3 inches stripped of leaves. Soft green tips tend to rot in water before they root. Place in a narrow-necked jar so the stem stays upright and supported. Roots take 2 to 4 weeks. This is the slowest on the list. Change the water every few days. Patience is the protocol. For daily use, 2 fresh sprigs steeped in near-boiling water for 7 minutes, or a fresh sprig in olive oil as a finishing drizzle. Studies suggest regular consumption supports digestion and may contribute mild anti-inflammatory benefit over time. Thyme is the kitchen herb that the British National Health Service formally recognizes as a treatment for acute bronchitis. A fact that surprises almost everyone who hears it, because thyme sits in most spice drawers between oregano and bay leaves, getting used for roasted chicken and nothing else. The active compounds are thymol and carvacrol, phenolic molecules with some of the most documented antimicrobial activity of any culinary herb studied. Thymol disrupts bacterial cell membranes. Think of it as dissolving the structural wall of the tent rather than fighting whatever is inside. Once the membrane is compromised, the bacterium cannot maintain the conditions it needs to survive. Laboratory research confirms activity against Staphylococcus aureus, E. coli, and Candida species. A randomized controlled trial comparing thyme syrup to a pharmaceutical expectorant for acute bronchitis found equivalent improvement in symptoms with fewer side effects. Evidence strong enough for inclusion in German official treatment guidelines. Thymol also has documented bronchodilatory effects. It loosens mucus and opens airways simultaneously. That dual mechanism explains why thyme tea has been the standard preparation for respiratory infections in traditional European medicine for centuries. The mechanism was always there. The clinical validation took longer to arrive. Use soft stem tips, not the woody base. Strip 3 inches from the bottom. Leave 2 leaf pairs at the top. Place in a clean glass of water in bright, indirect light. Roots appear in 10 to 14 days. For respiratory support, steep 2 generous teaspoons of fresh thyme leaves in near boiling water for 15 minutes. Longer than most herbs to fully extract the thymol. 3 to 4 cups during active illness. For daily use, the simplest method is generous inclusion in cooking. The antimicrobial compounds survive moderate cooking temperatures. If you're finding this useful and want a complete practical guide to growing, preparing, and using healing plants like these at home, including preparation methods, dosing context, and safety notes for each one, I put together a special bonus for you. It's in the first pinned comment below whenever you're ready. Now let's keep going. Every Italian grandmother who kept basil on her windowsill was, without knowing the terminology, running a modest anti-inflammatory and antimicrobial operation in her kitchen. The chemistry backs that up entirely. The primary active compounds in sweet basil are eugenol and linalool. Eugenol is the same compound dentists formerly used in clove-based preparations for toothache, a genuine pain signal modulator that works on CUX enzyme pathways, the same pathway targeted by common anti-inflammatory medications. Linalool interacts with the same neural receptor system that some anti-anxiety medications target, producing preliminary evidence of mild anxiolytic and anti-inflammatory effects simultaneously. A note on Tulsi, holy basil Ocimum tenuiflorum, which is a related but distinct species with documented adaptogenic and cortisol-modulating effects across multiple studies. Sweet basil and holy basil share compounds but are not the same plant. If cortisol regulation is your primary interest, Tulsi is the variety with the more relevant research literature. One context worth mentioning, eugenol has shown effects on platelet aggregation in laboratory studies. This is relevant context for anyone taking blood-thinning medications. Not a concern for cooking with fresh basil, but worth a conversation with your physician if you are considering concentrated preparations. A generous handful of fresh basil on your dinner is a different matter entirely. Basil roots faster than almost anything on this list. A 3 to 4 inch cutting in water will show roots in 4 to 5 days in a warm, bright spot. Remove any flower buds immediately. They redirect the plant's energy away from root production. For a more concentrated preparation, studies suggest an infusion of 10 to 12 large fresh leaves steeped 5 minutes in near boiling water, taken before meals, supports digestive comfort. Oregano has one of the strongest documented antimicrobial profiles of any culinary herb that has been formally studied in laboratory research. The primary active compounds are carvacrol and thymol, shared with thyme but at different concentrations. Carvacrol disrupts bacterial cell membranes with an efficiency that has been confirmed in multiple laboratory studies against strains including Staphylococcus aureus, E. coli, and Listeria monocytogenes. The mechanism is structural disruption rather than metabolic interference. It does not fight what is inside the cell. It removes the cell's ability to maintain itself. Multiple in vitro meta-analyses confirm broad-spectrum antimicrobial activity. Human clinical trials in this specific area remain limited, which is an important distinction to name clearly. The antioxidant capacity of oregano, measured by ORAC assay, consistently ranks among the highest of any culinary herb tested, higher than blueberries per gram in multiple comparison studies. This does not mean you should eat it by the fistful. It means that regular inclusion in cooking makes a genuine, measurable contribution to the body's management of oxidative stress, what some researchers call internal rust. Use soft stem tips, not the woody base. Strip 3 inches from the bottom and leave 2 leaf pairs at the top. Roots appear in 10 to 14 days in clean water on a bright windowsill. For tea, uncommon in Western kitchens but standard in Greece and the Eastern Mediterranean for respiratory and digestive complaints for generations. 2 teaspoons of fresh leaves, 5 minutes in near boiling water. For daily use, the most practical method is generous inclusion in cooking. Studies suggest adding fresh oregano to meat marinades reduces the formation of certain harmful compounds that form when meat is cooked at high heat. Sage has the longest unbroken history of medicinal use in European herbal tradition. The medieval aphorism, "Why should a man die who has sage in his garden?" was not hyperbole for its time. It was a reasonable assessment given what was available. The 2 mechanisms that hold up best in current research are cognitive support and menopausal symptom relief. For cognition, sage contains compounds that inhibit the enzyme responsible for breaking down acetylcholine, the brain's primary memory and attention signaling molecule. Blocking that breakdown means more of the signal stays active longer. This is the same mechanism targeted by certain pharmaceutical treatments for Alzheimer's disease. Studies suggest sage extract produces measurable improvements on memory and attention tests in healthy adults. For menopausal symptoms, an open-label multi-center trial published in Advances in Therapy found that a once-daily fresh sage leaf preparation reduced the total intensity score of hot flushes by 64% over 8 weeks compared to baseline. The proposed mechanism involves specific sage compounds acting on estrogen receptors, a mild phytoestrogenic signal, not a hormone. Multiple subsequent studies have produced consistent findings. One note on safety that I would rather you hear directly. Sage contains thujone, which in very large amounts is neurotoxic. The operative phrase is very large amounts. Concentrations achievable only by consuming sage essential oil directly, not by drinking tea or cooking with the leaf. Reasonable culinary and tea use presents no concern. I mention it because honest safety context is part of useful information. Sage is the most challenging of these 10 to root in water. Use softwood tip cuttings 4 to 5 inches, lower leaves removed. The glass must be very clean and the water changed every 2 days. Sage is more prone to stem rot than the others. For cognitive or menopausal symptom support, 4 to 5 fresh sage leaves steeped 6 minutes in water just below boiling, once or twice daily. Evidence suggests benefits build gradually over 4 to 6 weeks of consistent use. This one might feel less dramatic than the others. Green onion. You can buy a bunch at the grocery store for under $1, but the chemistry behind the allium family is among the most consistently studied in the food as medicine literature. And the mechanism is worth understanding. The active compounds include quercetin, one of the most extensively studied natural anti-inflammatory compounds, in current research literature, and organosulfur derivatives that form when plant tissue is cut or crushed. Quercetin is present in meaningful concentrations, particularly in the green tops. Cardiovascular support is the most consistent finding for the allium family. Regular consumption is associated with reduced arterial stiffness and modest blood pressure modulation in epidemiological studies and several controlled trials. The proposed mechanism. Sulfur compounds help the inner lining of blood vessels remain pliable and responsive rather than rigid over time. Think of it as the difference between a garden hose and a rigid pipe. Green onions also contain fructooligosaccharides, a class of prebiotic fiber that feeds specific beneficial bacterial strains in the gut. This is less headline-grabbing than the cardiovascular data. But from a long-term health perspective, maintaining gut bacterial diversity is one of the most consequential things a diet can support. Studies suggest regular allium consumption measurably shifts gut bacterial composition toward more favorable profiles. This is the fastest and most satisfying of all 10. Take the white root end of any grocery store green onion and stand it in a shallow glass with 1 inch of water. The roots are already there. You are simply waking them up. Within 3 days, new green shoots emerge. Within a week, you have full-length tops again. 2 or 3 harvests from a single grocery store bunch. Use the green tops raw, chopped into eggs, stirred through rice, added to soup just before serving. Heat degrades some of the quercetin content, so raw use delivers the most. No preparation needed, no steeping. The simplicity is the entire point. Aloe vera has been documented as a wound and burn treatment for over 3,000 years. In Egyptian papyri, Greek medical texts, and Roman writings. It is not folk medicine with good marketing. It has a genuine research profile. The inner gel contains more than 75 identified active compounds. The most studied polysaccharide is oregano. It accelerates fibroblast activity and wound healing. Fibroblasts are the cells that physically rebuild damaged tissue, and oregano appears to increase their production rate. Controlled studies confirm faster healing times for minor burns and abrasions compared to petroleum-based treatments. For internal use, juice prepared from the inner leaf only, specifically excluding the outer latex layer, which contains aloin with significant laxative effects, shows evidence of supporting gut lining integrity. A randomized double-blind trial published in Alimentary Pharmacology and Therapeutics found it reduced symptom scores in active ulcerative colitis. Preparation method here matters enormously. Inner gel juice and whole leaf extract are 2 different products with very different risk profiles. Here's the finding I find most interesting. Aloe's immune-modulating polysaccharides have been observed in preliminary laboratory studies to improve the responsiveness of macrophages, the immune system's first responder cells, not by increasing immune activity broadly, but by making the existing response more efficient. It does not hire more security guards, it gives the ones already there better equipment. Aloe propagates differently from the others. It produces offsets called pups at the base of the mother plant. Separating and potting one is the most reliable method. You can attempt to root a leaf cutting in a shallow inch of water, allow the cut end to callus for a day before placing it in water, and roots may form over several weeks, though success rates are lower than with the soft stem herbs. For topical use, break a lower leaf, slice lengthwise, apply the clear inner gel directly to minor burns, scrapes, or dry skin. For internal use, scoop only the clear inner gel, blend with water at a 1:4 ratio, use within 2 days. 2 to 4 tablespoons is the range studied for digestive benefit. More is not better here. Lemon verbena is the least known plant on this list and possibly the one with the largest gap between how casually people treat it and how seriously the research treats its active compounds. The primary actives are verbascoside and a concentrated profile of rosmarinic acid, higher than in either lemon balm or rosemary. Verbascoside has documented anti-inflammatory activity through inhibition of the same COX and LOX enzyme pathways targeted by common anti-inflammatory medications. A randomized double-blind trial published in the Journal of Alternative and Complementary Medicine found lemon verbena extract significantly reduced exercise-induced muscle damage markers, specifically creatine kinase and oxidative stress indicators, in athletes over 21 days. The proposed mechanism is the combination of antioxidant activity and inflammatory modulation at the cellular level. For the nervous system, rosmarinic acid in lemon verbena contributes to the same GABA transaminase inhibition that lemon balm demonstrates, meaning it slows the breakdown of the brain's primary calming neurotransmitter. The practical effect in clinical observations is mild anxiolytic activity and improved sleep quality without sedation. 1 cup in the evening is the traditional preparation across Spain, France, and North Africa, where lemon verbena tea has been a standard evening ritual for centuries. The flavor is extraordinary, right? Intensely bright, lemon clean, nothing artificial about it. Take a soft stem cutting 4 to 5 inches long. Strip the lower leaves. Place in a clean glass of water in bright, indirect light. Roots form in 10 to 14 days. Change the water every 3 days. For tea, 6 to 8 fresh leaves in near boiling water steeped 5 minutes. The aroma alone when you pour the water over the leaves is immediate and clarifying. For most people, this becomes the cup they look forward to most in the evening. The complete practical guide, how to root each of these plants, how to prepare them correctly, dosing context, and safety notes for each one, is in the first pinned comment below. It is called Botanica Vitalis, and it is a special bonus I put together for people who want to take this further than a video. It is there whenever you are ready. 10 plants, no garden required, a glass of water, a windowsill, and the patience to watch roots form. What I want you to take from this is not a complicated protocol or a list of supplements to buy. It is a shift in how you see your kitchen counter as a small, working, evidence-based pharmacy that you tend rather than purchase. The windowsill has always been this. Most people just stopped noticing. One question for the comments and I will read every one. Which of these 10 do you already grow? And which one are you starting first? Are you rooting in water or going straight to a pot? Drop it below. Share this with someone managing something that one of these plants has research behind. Subscribe and ring the bell. One new video every week, always evidence-based, always practical. I will see you in the next one.